North Korea has already warned U.S. urged abandon decolonization fast. Washington, as the areas, has failed to erect the development of Kim Jong Un's ambitious exhibits. The U.S. should admit the defeat in its campaigns in the pursuit of North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapon and focus on the risk reductions and arms control mixture instead. As per urged on Tuesday, North Korea fired barracks mixture over Japan for the first time since 2017, sparking the news condemnation from Washington and areas. The U.S. and South Korea respond by their conducting joint military drills and firing the missiles into the seas of Japan, while the U.S. Norwegian and American nuclear power aircraft carrier conduct a rare U-turn tour to the waters east of the Korean Peninsula after recent weeks, but allies say the military gestures and the compacted words emanating from the Washington's Seoul and Tokyo beneath the reality that they have run out of ideas and their options for the containing North Korean nuclear weapon programs. Experts argue that the U.S. and its allies is focused on agreeing with the Pyongyang staff to reduce the risk of conflicts on the Korean Peninsula, even if doing so amount to detect the acceptance the North Korea that we can pose the nuclear weapons. Insistence on the denucleation is not just a failure, it has turned into a farce. Say the Ankit Panda, a nuclear weapon expert, the Carrigator Endowment for the International Peaceful in Washington, the taxi, we respond, we move on with our rights. Vendors at North Korea had already won is the bitter pill, but at some point we're going to have the swallow it. Announcement Kim Jong Un, a man of North Korea nuclear doctrines to allow the preemptive strike. The Paris policy only permit the use of nuclear weapon in the second strike scenarios. There will never be any declarations or giving up our nukes and denucleations, no any kind of the negotiations or the bargaining to meet the other side with conditional came declared, although as long as nuclear weapon exists on Earth and imperatively may, our road towards a strengthened nuclear power will stop. Jenny Tom, the director of the 78th North programs at the Mission Center, St. Tant, in Washington State, the window for decolonization near the process is closest to the intensified arms race in East Asia and increasing tension between the U.S. and China. It's the thing in the middle of the weeks, North Korea will contemplate denuclearization when everyone else, including South Korea, is arming up. On the once the relations is better and the geopolitical change shift in a more positive directions, maybe we can talk about the nuclear program again, but them seems way far down the line. Seems way far down the line. Angel Rango. And Zhou Lenko Professor we started with the Kunming University Institute and preeminent of Korea as per se the King's Majesty is as follow. As for we have the Nick Naga, we have them forever and we will use it as we see fit. Then codes argue that the Pyongyang would not contingencies talks as long as Washington maintained the North Korea declaration even as a Dixon policy goal. While the Congress and the U.S. power will not accept anything else, then North Korea capitulation on this issue. The U.S. probably wants the government to pursue an unabatable and dangerous, unattainable and dangerous dreams. But the North Korea have to make it clear they are not going to play this game. That's wrong. The only way to pursue them is to consider restriction on their nuclear weapon. Will be to pay them the absent reads well for it. And North Korea has their diplomacy extra democracy in that I think. When the authorities that are made between the king and the U.S. president are not charmed to corruption in there all night. In January 2021, came out light the capital intent to achieve in 5 years, including the tactical nuclear weapons, mineral aerobates, missiles, and surface ICBM nuclear submarine. Weapon experts say in the North Korea region has made considerable progress on the multiple fronts despite the intellectual sensation and the king is in the country border. So in the country border in the 2020 in response to the COVID pandemic, cooperation between the parent member of the UN Security Council on the North Korea has already broken down in the way of the ruptures. Invasion of nuclear further unrating pressure on the Pyongyang. North Korea has also seized on the rupture international isolations to further closer with Moscow. On Wednesday, forced the closures. On the Wednesday, the security the Security Council failed to condemn Pyongyang to make sure run job the recent observed for either was in order of security concern. Panda know that forest makers to be especially worried by North Korea development of the no yet tactical nuclear weapon that could be developed again. Okay, they will deploy it for against the South Korea. The nuclear war might end with the ICBM, but it is more likely to begin with the detected nuke. They are incredibly dangerous and concerning. And say the Panda, this could be a capability of the king is waiting for, turning into nuclear connections and terrorization about again the law. Yet the Korean officer insists attacks these abstract North Korea's statutes as nuclear arms states would have the dangerous consequences for the global and professions. But Pan argued that the benefit with the disruptions of the Korea Peninsula would outweigh the cost of the number of regions. It said before acknowledgement the reliability of the nuclear weapons, state the larger and more sophisticated the Pyongyang ratios to become, and the higher the cost that came to will be able to exert in an inevitable figure in the region regulation is not in the U.S. national interest in the needed factor.